Hello there folks and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka that Tellest guy. We are back today in the jungle that we started on yesterday, and we are going to try and see what we can do about getting us closer to the finish line for this one. First and foremost, what I'm going to do is show you some integral research that I did. So we've got our tree heights that we were talking about yesterday. Let me zoom this in a little bit more so we can see some various things in here. So as you can see here, the jungle trees are the biggest ones. They can grow upwards of 200 feet. The section of the jungle that we're in right now, probably not going to get that high. So we're going to dial that back a little bit. As a tree gets taller, it gets bigger as well. So we're going to make sure that, we're staying relatively sane as far as the stuff that we have present on this. We're going to do a big kind of tree related map in the next couple of weeks, and we'll show that off later, but for right now we're going to stick to things that look a little bit more serviceable for a map that's on the ground and everything like that. After the jungle trees, the palm trees are the next tallest tree that we have in this set. Palm trees will typically grow between 32 and 50 feet. After that, we have our cacao trees, which are 13 to 26 feet, and our banana trees, which are 12 to 20 feet. So let's shrink that back down, because what we can actually do is ungroup this, and let's move everything all at once. But we can take these pieces and kind of repurpose them. So now if we bring our banana tree over here, we know that this is going to be the smallest one. So we know that if the jungle trees are on 0, the banana tree could in theory be on -3, because it'll be lower than everything else. So we'll move that over there just so that we have it, and we'll get the cacao tree and do the same thing. But the cacao tree is going to be -2, because we want it to show up above the banana tree. So something like that, maybe a little bit bigger, because again, as something grows in height, it should grow in width as well. And then we've got our palm trees. So our palm trees we're going to put on -1, and that way it's still, well, that tree needs to come up. Palm tree should be big, but not as big as the jungle trees. So we've got that guy, and what we're actually going to do as well is here and there along the river, we'll do a little bit of work with that, so that, is it raining out there? Sounds like it is. I think it just might be wind. We're going to put these around the river, and that'll end up having a little bit more of an effect where it makes things look a little nicer. And then we've got the big tree. We got the jungle tree. So let's move this guy out of there. We don't really need those pieces in there anymore. I can always reference this later if I need to. Let's actually just get rid of this guy. We don't really need the text anymore. And we'll just scooch those over for now. Let's move that right off the bottom, and that way we can connect it to a map down there later. Let's keep on moving around. We're not going to do a lot with palm trees on the border of the map. We're going to keep the palm trees close to the water, because that's where I like the idea of them existing. And let's do there, and that way again we can kind of paint the picture that the jungle trees are going to be taller than our palm trees. And you're not going to see much by way of like a decolorization in the jungle, because everything's getting a decent amount of water. There, we'll do another cacao tree. Or is that a palm? That was a palm. And because they're getting a lot of water, you're typically not going to see a lot of discoloration or anything like that. All right, so we got that border going on down there, which is pretty nice. So we can get rid of some of these lines that we have. I think they're actually locked in. So I've got the personal note. That is for me. We're going to put a secret switcher lever somewhere over here. So if we zoom that in, or put that on, it was just a note for myself for later. You can also use, I think there's a notes tool, but I didn't really care to use that. So we've got this that we can take out. We've got the path that we can take out because that is serving as our border right now. We don't really need the lines there because we know what they're, what purpose they're serving. Let's go into our next kind of phase, and let's work on the background layer with the water. So if we go down to the jungle, let's see if there's any water that we can use. We've got, looks like they kind of folded in some of the regular water. Let's dial it back down to 30. Bear with me for 1 second. I hear water coming from our other room, so I'm going to go to intermission. As I know, ghost water. No idea where that came from. Could have just been kind of like the creaking of the wind outside, kind of confusing me. Ah, the dread. I was saying that I was going to do 30, and then I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Go again with this stuff. And the nice thing is these kind of got like some rocks built in and stuff like that, so it gives it a little bit of dimension. And we are going to get rid of these mask effects, I think, because I do not like them. But we do know that because of this, we're going to have to make some adjustments. So on the old Parblue glove, and we are going to have to hide some things that I already put on the map. So we're going to lock this down. Let's group the bridge. These guys can all get put together. Left bridge. And we're going to lock that down and hide it. And where's our other tree that we just locked down? We're going to hide that as well. And down here we got to do the same thing with these ones. We've got the big guy. And where's our palm tree? Lock that down as well. And can't grab it anymore. Hide that one, and jungle tree we're going to hide as well. Alright, so the nice thing is we can go into our line tool and we can go to our cliffs. I think we're going to go a little bit smaller with these ones. So we had, I don't know why the stroke size is 134 right now, but we're going to go to maybe something like 20, and we'll give it a practice run without the Wacom pencil. Yeah, honestly, not too bad. All right, so we're gonna try to use the Wacom pencil and see if that gives us a little bit more finesse as we're making our way through this. Now, so I've got Dark Nightmare who just followed. Thank you very much for the follow. Hello there. And we're going to continue along. It is going swell today. We've got a little bit of bad weather outside, but I think for the most part we're going to be in good shape. So far it's been a pretty bright day. How about you? Okay, I'm going to come down there and sweep back up the other way. So, Dark Nightmare says he's doing great. Actually taking a break from their own homebrew at the moment. What kind of homebrew are you making? Oh, you know what? That's the problem with left to right. You end up with the upside downy stuff. And it just doesn't look right. I'm making a custom Pantheon and a campaign to go with it. Very cool. When you say Pantheon, you're talking about gods and stuff? You know what we're going to do? We're going to save real quick, and I am going to open this in high def, because the one bad thing about using these smaller clips is you can't really see the orientation with this new tool. A group of 15 deities, Dark Nightmare says. Very cool. I'm guessing it's like a high fantasy, or is it a different kind of genre? Get this to load. It takes a little bit longer when you're up, loading it up into HD for whatever reason. I mean, it's a pretty normal reason, but Dark Nightmare says it's kind of normal D&D vibes, yeah, but a bit more sinister. We love that for you. Is it? I'm guessing it's a kind of setting that you're going to be DMing for your crew. And you see the left to right is problematic when you're coming from top to bottom. Let's see. I can't remember if switching it that way does the trick. No. So we're going to have to tweak that a little bit. All right, let's try this again. I think if we try it right to left, it might play a little nicer. So I think it's doing what we want it to now. That's good. The Dark Nightmare says, yes, they are going to be DMing that campaign or that setting. All these deities gain their power from feeding off of fear. All of them specialize with a specific cluster of them. That's pretty cool. Do you have any gods that you want to speak about in particular? Ooh, there's a lot of wind out there. So I guess that'll be a warning just in case anything happens. It's just the wind. Oh man. Every now and then you get that kind of like roundy bit that I don't like. So let's keep on going. So now that we're sweeping up, we should have it on the left side instead of the right. I don't know why it does that, and there's not really a friendly way, to the best of my knowledge, to fix that, but it is what it is. And we're going to make adjustments as we go, because you can see that certain pieces of the stamps are kind of landing either on top of or above this, and it needs to be adjust it accordingly. But we're in a good place as far as moving this stuff around now, and we're just going to stick with it. A little bit more, and we should be done with this side. Now I do need to, as I said, move that down so that it kind of tucks into there. So Dark Nightmare says, oh yeah, currently working on the first one, The Buried, in depth. The Buried essentially deals with the fears of entombment and confined spaces, all that nature. So it honestly sounds like you're doing like legit like phobias as gods, and that's very cool. Kudos to you. All right, I think left to right is going to end up causing us problems too, but let's see what we got. Let's lock this tree down and scoop that back. Again, if I move left to right, I think it's going to flip the script, and we're going to end up, yeah, so it flips it the other way. You can see it's subtle, but you can see that the cliffs are facing upward instead. That is very cool. Dark Nightmare. There's a severe lack of people who are trying to do like really, really, really cool stuff like that, so I commend you. All right, so that is facing the right way. So we can keep moving with this. So we're going to tuck that into there so that it shows up underneath a little bit. And we're going to bring this down. And as long as it goes under the bridge, we should be okay there. So that's nice. Based off a podcast that Dark Nightmare absolutely loves. So all the entities are based from that. If you feel comfortable sharing it, I'm sure that the podcast that you follow would love the shout out. Okay, there's a good spot right there. And then I think over here we're going to run into the same problem that we ran into the other side. If we do this, it's going to face right. So we actually have to go up on that side. It is the Magnus Archives. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. I know that there's a decent amount of people who like that kind of stuff, so you sharing, and I'm sure, like I said, the podcast creators are going to be very happy that word got out for their podcast. One of my best friends is really into podcasting, so maybe I can even see if he wants to say anything about it or do some research or anything. Keeping it going. So again, left to right with this path tool, as far as the cliffs go, will make the cliffs show up with a north and west facing orientation versus if you go from either right or top, then it kind of faces it the wrong way. I'm going to actually use the nodes to clean that up a little bit, but keep things coming. Okay, a little bit more, and then we should be almost all the way up there. Do a little bit of an overlap. And actually what we're going to do up here is get rid of that bit because I don't want the pieces going up the waterfall that we're going to end up having. So let's do a add, I think. Dark Nightmare says that they highly recommend that podcast, and it's really good if you enjoy horror. Oh, it was not an add, in fact, it was a subtract. I should have known I'm trying to add water, not take it away. And let's make sure we're using the smooth tool instead of the rough tool. And I'm noticing that we have a couple of other pieces up here and over here, so we'll make some adjustments as we go. Oh, we added a little bit down there that we don't need. So Dark Nightmare, when you're making your world, do you end up kind of stopping at the gods, or are you going to add like some like sanity effects to the way that it plays and things like that? I'm kind of imagining like a Eternal Darkness or something along those lines. Keep on using the mask tool to fill in these little spaces where you can see a lot of the wood. Oh, nope, 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 not a subtract, an add in this case. And one of the things that I know we're going to need to do is add some rocks to that waterfall. But it's been a long time since I did a waterfall, and I'm going to try and get a little bit of... Oh, I got the tree there, and I want the cliff. It's been a long time since I've done a waterfall, and I'm going to go back to one of our earlier maps where we did just that, and it'll help me to understand how to do things a little bit more effectively. But I'll do that probably off stream. Dark Nightmare says, I'm going to go all out for this. I'm making subclasses, custom tables for Wild Magic and Madness, and I'm adding 2 systems as well, a Quirks and Flaws system and a marking system. That is very cool, sir. We're currently working on a like a crit hit and miss table and like card set that we can use. You know, it's more system agnostic and stuff like that, but I always like to, you know, play with the tool set of the world, so to speak, and to kind of turn things on their side with rules. Rules are there so that they can be broken. All right, everything looks good up there. Oh, wait a minute. I am spotting a little bit of a mess right here. So clean that up. And just make sure that there's nothing up a little bit further. Some messiness over here that we can clean up, but nothing too problematic. Oh, a little bit there too. Okay, and then cut back down. A little bit right there that's in the grass that doesn't need to be there. And we know that this tree right here should be above the cliff line. And even with that, I can see a little bit of water coming through over here that we can clean up. I think, you know what, there's a little bit of that plant that's underneath, I think. There we go. Dark Nightmare says, I personally love the systems. The marking system is really funny to me for some reason. At least some aspects of it, only because of what I imagined while reading it back. Is this going to be something that you're just going to play internally, or are you going to kind of develop it for like a drive-through RPG or something along those lines? Whoops, not the brush. The masking tool. One of these days I'll get it right. A little bit messy down there, so I'll have to clean that up as we go. Maybe put like a plant there, a sea or water-based plant, so that'll cover it up and hide it real nice. Little bit of water. Dark Nightmare says, not sure yet, to be honest, and that's perfectly fine. I don't think that you're beholden to know anything this early in your process, it sounds like, so just do what your heart tells you. I've got this messy cliff up here that we're going to try and get into the nodes for and see if I can swing this back this way without it looking super ugly. No, I said add a node. Alright, I don't know if I swing it back. Ugh. I do not like it. Yerps. Ooh, I actually like that a little better. But not tremendously so. Let's keep it going. There we go. That looks a bit nicer. You can definitely see some of these are higher on the set than they should be. So we're going to make some adjustments. Dark Nightmare says, but what I imagine, because the marking system basically is someone being marked by the entities, which would put a huge target on their backs, there's a part called mark clusters, where they're marked by more than one deity. And if two very conflicting ones mark the same person, I just imagine them as two children fighting over a toy or candy in a very petty way. I'm imagining, as you're saying that, a kind of situation where like they're each grabbing like a body part of an action figure and pulling it apart. Let's see, we should have that little square over here, and that should help us to angle things a little nicer. Okay, a little cleaner there, and then we know we need to do the same thing up here, so let's try and see if we can work some magic without changing too much. Again, that needs to be lower than that one up there, but these ones are going off the screen, so it's not a huge problem. All right, let's go back to masking because we do know that we have some water spots to clean up. And I think as far as the inside part of this island and down to this point, we're doing pretty good. This tree needs to be up higher than the cliff. Let's do a lock for these three. And again, it helps to lock and then, in the same go, mess with the opacity. Otherwise, grabbing them gets to be kind of problematic. So Dark Nightmare says, yeah, either that or them doing childish things similar. One of my friends made the funny analogy of, I licked it, so it's mine now. Good times. Now, I'm guessing, based on the way that you've described it, that every time a mark is made, it's not necessarily ever a good situation for the characters. Like if you're marked by a deity, it's always a sinister thing. There's never a good side. Or is there a possibility to have like a champion for one of the deities or something along those lines? Is that going the wrong way? I feel like it's going the wrong way. So, once again, I'm going to go from top to bottom instead. One of these days I'll understand the new path tool, but it will not be this day. There we go. Okay. No, it never is. None of the entities are good aligned. The best is either lawful or true neutral. Poor adventurers. That's what you get for living in that world. Alright, let's see. Did I make any other little spots down here that I have to clean up? We're getting close to that mystical 100 number where we need to save soon, but not quite there. I might be able to finish off the cliffs before that point, and then we'll probably take a moment to go to our sponsors. I think it's just the one sponsor today. There we go. Facing the correct direction. Keep it going. Yeah, that's what they get for playing in one of my games. Good times. I'm taking it from that description that nothing's ever sunshine and puppy dog tails. Okay, almost there. Going to do a little bit of cleanup after this, and then we will take that sponsorship break. this side. Dark Nightmare says, there is someone in the world I'm making who's a one-of-a-kind who can either be the savior or the downfall of the party, depending on how they go about things. And I'm guessing that with that in mind, they are an NPC, not a player character that someone can grab. Almost. We are past that mystical 100 number. Let's throw that under. Make sure that that's where it needs to be. And Dark Nightmare says they're called the Exalted One. They're the one person in the world who bears the mark of all 15 entities. Yes, very much exalted, if that's what you want to call it. All right, we're going to real quick hit save, and we're going to go to the sponsor. We'll be back in like 2 minutes. And a word from our sponsors. Eager to show that you can write an excellent book without following too closely to established tropes, new author Albert T. Franklin turns readers into fans with his debut, Searching for Zen, A Tale of Divine Destiny. Join Zen, a boy with an incredible gift who is bound to shape the form of humanity for ages to come. Franklin weaves a captivating story around this powerful being and endears Zen to many people who are integral to his life. A fellowship is created that will be one for the ages and one that readers will love to root for. If you're looking for an uplifting fantasy that outshines the darkness, look no further. Check out our promo for Searching for Zen, A Tale of Divine Destiny on the Tellest website today. Alrighty, and we are back from our sponsors. I think we're going to run another sponsor spot tomorrow, which means that we're going to do the rare Thursday stream. Just because I'm having a lot of fun making maps this week. We did a lot off stream and everything like that, so might as well enjoy it while we've got it. All right, we're going to step away from the river for a little bit and work on this kind of trapped segment of the map. We did have an experience where we were kind of cutting this stuff out, and we are going to kind of keep going with that. So we're going to do a cut path. Nope, I realized we're going to exit cut mode, and what we're going to do instead is, again, do that little kind of extra node there so that when we are ready to cut, we can just do it right there. So if we come in here, now you can see that piece is there and ready to play with. So I figure we'll have this be kind of like our standing wall, and then this over here, we will do our fade like we had last time. So we're going to change the opacity and maybe move the wall out a little bit. We should have those rocks, but that's not part of the path, so I think we have to grab those separately. Dark Nightmare says, yeah, for some reason bearing all 15 marks leaves them unable to be affected by all the entities. Once you get so messed up, you're impervious to everything else. Very good stuff. All right, here's our rocks. So I'll just grab that one, and these are kind of partially opaque as well. So let's do a little bit like that instead, and let's throw some of these rocks in there. Maybe these ones can be a little brighter, a little bit more visible. Just like barely. All right, and since this is the one kind of piece that's actually standing over here, what we're going to do is go to our grass, and we'll mess with the opacity there as well. Dark Nightmare says exactly, but essentially they've been trying to mark other people fully as well, so they can assemble a force large enough to take out these. I really like that idea. I'm sorry, I didn't even finish the thought. I like the concept so well. Good show, sir. All right, so we're going to kind of make our way. It would help if we're doing the foreground. We're going to make our way into this building a little bit. I think because we're doing the the high res, it's running a little slow. Let's try and see if we zoom out if it plays a little nicer. Barely. Well, I'll tell you what. We have the cliff done, so we don't have to go too crazy with the high definition anymore. So let's save and then see if we can open it back up in low res without too much of a problem. Dark Nightmare says, I thought of it and I was like, this is a perfect campaign goal. Yeah, I think that player character or not, your adventurers are gonna enjoy that and like what they're seeing if that character does get to play in your world while that's happening. Okay, let's see. Save faster. All right, I'm gonna take a step out and then try and go back in and see if it opens at a more comfortable resolution. It's fine. It's gonna be fun. You'll definitely have to come back and let us know how that goes for you. I'm excited for you. All right, let's go back to this area over here, and we're going to mess with the opacity again and just kind of make it so that grass is coming in. Foreground mic. And that way it looks like nature is kind of starting to overtake this area. All right, we've got this big chunk over here, so we're going to edit the nodes here and do the same thing. Let's do these two, and we'll have that one little area be standing there, and let's do one more little, we'll extend that a little bit so that there's a decent gap, and then this whole piece over here can stand up without any problem. But this one here is going to be an unfortunate gone. Part of me is thinking it doesn't really make a lot of sense to have the opacity like that, and it looks like we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. We are going to bump the opacity up for these guys. And we're going to, if I don't like it, we just saved it, so that's perfectly fine. But what we're going to do is flatten them to the foreground and then start to paint over them. So it'll look a little bit more like they were kind of absorbed by nature instead of, you know, like it's half opaque. And the nice thing about this is we can do it in pieces instead of having it all together. And we do know that we're going to do a little bit inside the kind of hut. Let's shrink this one down so it looks like a little bit less grass gets in. Okay, looking good. Dark Nightmare says, absolutely, I've been streaming the process of making it whenever I can. Are you streaming it on Twitch? Because that would be a fun thing to take a look at. All right, we are going to, again, let's start to bring some of our stuff back because we know that we have some trees and plants and stuff like that. All right, I am definitely going to have to take a peek at your channel because I definitely want to see the kind of stuff that you're building. Oh, you know what? While I'm here, I'm noticing something that needs to be cleaned up. In a couple different places. I don't know how I missed them that first time. So we got down here, it's kind of peeking through. And maybe down here as well. Oh, there's going to be problems. There's going to be so many problems. Alright, let's see. We've got a fern that's locked somewhere. Where is that fern? That one's down there, so we'll bump that back up. And when I'm not keeping them locked or hidden, we can unlock them, and that'll be my way of saying you don't need to care about this anymore, Mike. So we can unlock that selection. The left bridge we got rid of, so we can unhide that. Ooh, I thought there was a crack in the bridge. It just got under the cliff. I'm gonna unlock that one. What else do we have locked down? Got the 2 palm trees. Bring those ones back up and unlock them. Dark Nightmare says, I streamed a lot of the Warlock subclass progress within the past few weeks. That was actually the starting point, but then I wanted to expand it. I am going to head over to your channel after this and take a real quick peek at some of the videos that you have up. We'll probably only be on this for like another minute or two, I want to say. This section over here is going to be moved to the foreground, because we are going to make this kind of the whole point. Oop, not the background, the foreground. We're going to make this the whole point. The edges of this area are going to be inaccessible, so the smartest way to do it is to go through, and that's when our heroes are going to walk right into whatever trap we have planned for them here. I am a bad like Twitch watcher. I spend a lot of time doing streams, but I usually kind of stick to my own little place. So it will be fun to see what other people are doing. Okay, we're gonna do one pass there, and we'll make it so that this side over here is the cleaner side, and we'll start to go into the hut a little bit more. Maybe a little bit over there. Okay, good times. I like how that's turned out. We'll probably do like one more up there. While we're here, let's go back into our jungle set. We are planning on at some point. Here, let me go back and narrate, because Rihanna gets mad at me when I don't do it. So Dark Nightmare says, I also stream D&D games as well, at least when I have games to stream. We are going to, this is me speaking as myself now, we are planning to, at some point in the next month or two, get back into our D&D campaign. And I think like half of the group is starting in April, and then maybe August, I think we're going to try and get together with everybody. We have like a 6-person group, not including myself. And at that point, I think if everybody's okay with it, we're going to start to record some audio. I don't think that we're going to stream live or anything like that, but we might put it together as like a multi-part podcast or something like that. We go off the rails a lot. All right, so we're looking for some rocks. We've got these boulders and things like that, but they're more for traps, and I don't really want to do it that way. I want to get something that looks a little bit more. I've got these jungle rocks, these clusters. Let's see if we throw these together, if we can make some obstacles for our players. Let's do something like that, and throw these together as well, so it looks like they might have all came from kind of the same area. Don't really need to do anything too crazy down here, because we've got the, well, you know what, we might as well. And make sure that they're going underneath. Dark Nightmare says that their group is the same way. You should see some of my top clips. They're just chaos incarnate. We have, like I said, we have a decent chunk of people, and part of the issue is we've got people who are ADHD. We've got people who it's partially my fault too, because I run my campaigns in very silly ways, and of course if you're going to run your campaign in a silly way, you're going to get reactions that are silly as well. So it is entirely my fault. All right, so we've got these ones down here that are kind of covered in like a green moss. Let's come up here and see if we mess with the saturation settings, if we get something that looks, I feel like that looks a little bit more, we'll say, kind of in line with what we have with the ground itself up there. Shrink that down a little bit so that they don't all look the same, especially because this one's almost the same orientation as that one down there. That way it'll almost kind of look like a rock slide or something. In fact, maybe we keep going up and doing that same thing. However, gotta mess with the saturation to make it even lighter as it goes up. Dark Nightmare said, me in a nutshell. But then they're going to head out to get some dinner, but it was fun talking with you, and I would like to say it's been fun to talk with you as well. Thank you again for the follow, and like I said, I'm going to head over to your channel after this to see what kind of stuff you got cooked up, and definitely feel free to always stop by and say, hey, I appreciate the stop. Alright, we're going to go with bigger rocks up here. Some tiny ones down there and everything like that, but up here I want it to look like a mess has been made. Not too big though. Oh no, I lost it. Oh god. Alright, that's good, and then we'll just shrink this one down to size. And I may end up taking some of this apart as we go. That looks a little too uniform, so we might kind of clean things up. But at least I have the stamps there to use. Let's go to our actual trap now. So we knew that we were going to throw something in there. I think we didn't actually throw it in there. Let's do a search for trap. No. All right, so we were playing with it, but we didn't actually put anything in there. So let's see where we landed with things. I kind of like the idea of a nice spike trap. So we've got this trap and this trap. They look fundamentally pretty similar. Let's do... and this is very likely going to change. Let's drop it down to 30 because that's a nice kind of 5 by 5. We're probably going to have variations of this where, yeah, I kind of like that, where we're going to have these hidden. I mean, obviously, you know, we want the game master to be able to run this as a secret. So let's do this. We're going to lock these. Actually, let's group these together. We'll group them. We're going to call it spike traps. And let's do that to hide it. And what we're going to do is go to our brush tool again, and let's see if in the jungle set, if they have any kind of like cracked ground or anything. If they don't, that's perfectly fine. We were using the stuff right here, so we were using this guy here. So dark stone, and I don't think that there's any cracks or anything that we can use, but I mean, that's not to say that we can't grab it from like our core set or anything like that. So if we go into our cracks here, really looks like the dungeon one is the one that we're going to be using. And we know that we had something here, here, and here. So let's move into our advanced settings, and we're going to change the size to 30. And then we might even dial that back a little bit so that we get more for each tile. So that's pretty good. And that way, if we go into, am I working on the background? I'm working on the foreground. Oh, I was working half opaque. And that's okay, because we can just do multiple passes. So it's subtle, and it'll be a little less subtle if we get rid of that. So these, again, very kind of subtle markings are what help the player identify, hey, there's something going on in this room. So we're going to go into this again real quick, because I'm noticing the problem with this concept is we shouldn't have a lot of grass coming through here. A little bit should be fine, because you could say that, you know, some of it's growing over the trap, but we don't want to lose all of it. So now the nice thing is we've got those things there, and then if it fits nicely over top of those pieces. So we can do a version of the map without the traps, and then a version with the traps. And then that will make for a nice little variant. So we did a nice little chunk of stuff so far today. We did the traps, we did the rivers, we did the perimeter over here. The nice thing is this is pretty much one big point of interest right here. We know that we're going to have another one down here, and then we'll have probably 2 or 3 rooms on the left side of this river, and that will be how we do you know, a decent amount of content on this map. As you know, a lot of times what I'm trying to do is throw together 4 points of interest, and that will be a nice way of doing that, is kind of separating it into these various pieces of the map. So we are going to save one more time, and while that's saving, we're going to head over to our show closing screen. So on the screen right now, you should see all the places that you can find Tellest out there on the internet. The Tellest website, tellest.com, is a great place to start. It'll bring you to a lot of these places that I'm going to mention now, plus a couple of our projects specifically. And if you want to go a little step further than that, we've got a couple of places where you can find our premium goods out on the internet. Patreon.com/Tellest is where you can find these battle maps and like our extra TTRPG stuff on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We do like point of interest documents for maps that we've already made. We're eventually going to have some of Matt's scenes on the Patreon, and that kind of is another layer of how to add a little bit more flavor to your campaign. If you're using our maps, you can go to tellest.etsy.com to get physical versions of our maps, as well as other premium goods like just jumbo sized mouse pads, the art book, the Quantum Quest tabletop game, posters, stickers, bookmarks, and Rihanna's Weird Witch wands, which are one of a kind handcrafted magic wands. You can see a little bit more of them at tiktok.com/@weirdwitchwands. And if you want to see our other TikTok channel, the man do want his chalky milk. The other place that you can find some TikTok stuff for us before they shut it down anyway, tiktok.com/@talesofTellest. That'll show you our cute poochies. And then the last 2 places that I'll bring your attention to right now is our YouTube channel, which you can find at youtube.com/@worldoftellest. That's where on Thursdays, we post our Talking Tellests, and on Fridays and Saturdays, these videos where we're making maps end up on there. And but if you want to do what our good friends have done today and talk to us live, you can do that only here on twitch.tv/thattellestguy. And I want to say hello to that nerdy Kev, who's come out of the shadows at the last moment to flip an emoji my way. Hello, Kev. It was good having you here. And I guess that's it. So, like I said, I'm going to try and come back tomorrow, because I'd like to finish this map then, and maybe take a look at what comes after. But we'll we'll play it by ear and we'll see what happens. And until then, I miss you.